Hi, welcome back to my channel Azure Learn. Today we are going to discuss about how do we evolve web applications with Microsoft Azure using Azure App Service. Business usually powered by applications, web applications of maybe customer facing applications, or it could be internal applications, or maybe the B2B applications are all put together, right? And if you see, I'm sure you would be agreeing to the fact that customer experience is more important than ever. Your end users have high expectations. That means there is a study says that 79% of the customers won't return to a slow website, and 38% feel that they require a customized, personalized experience when they come back again to the same site, and 65% of the customers might even get upset with inconsistent experience across the devices when they are trying to access the same website or web application. So now let's have a look at the modern web application challenges. So as digital engagement has evolved greatly beyond the static web content, obviously delivering richer interactivity and then the functionalities becomes a dire need for the organizations to manage and engage the customers in a fruitful way. Right. So now there could be challenges for the smaller teams in sense of being fast, fluid, and be able to deliver reliable experience, and then be quick enough to add functionalities and then the relevant content updates, and then deliver the consistent experience across the platforms and devices to engage the customers, and to have intelligent customization done for the repeat customers, and to have a secured environment by identifying and authentifying and handling the sensitive data of the customers, and even to adopt new ways of interacting with the customers, being imbibed in the websites and web applications. So these are all the ones that business has to manage in today's world. However, the challenge comes with the smaller teams. Yes, for big boys, they have the resources, skill set, finance, manpower, money power, time, and efficiency. Everything is there with them. For smaller teams and for smaller organizations, how do they be able to keep in pace with what it is required? That is where they can take the advantage of fully managed services in Azure, like Azure App Services, for hosting their web applications. So what is that it's going to give them? Obviously, the agility that is required for them to be fast enough to respond to the user needs and then quickly be able to integrate new things. And then the quality of the service with the guaranteed SLAs and then automation and scaling, all these, many are things they come with fully managed services with the least cost possible, least effort possible, least skill required to make use of them, right? So in terms of integration, the security, the agility, the quality of services, all are available with fully managed services in Azure with Azure App Service. That is what today's topic is going to be. So Azure Managed Services deliver cost savings, speed, and innovation for the web apps that we have discussed in some time back in one of my videos, that how platform as a service gives the return on investment beyond 400%, especially when I was talking about the SQL MI, I have highlighted that and it's applicable here also. And by the time that you try to reduce your effort and cost in IT troubleshooting and administration and other challenges, obviously there also you would be saving a lot of time and cost and manpower that you can redeploy at a core productivity into any other job. So skipping moving on to the rest of the content, so there are many other customers who have taken already the advantage of these things, and needless to say, so we are going to discuss about Azure App Service. I'm introducing you to Azure App Service, which falls under the category of platform as a service, wherein you would be taking care of only the application and the related data things, but the underlying infra, the OS of it, and patching it up, and then making secure, all these are going to be taken care by the cloud vendor. Here it's about Azure. So the Azure App Service drives high productivity for dev teams and then the ops teams. It's a fully managed platform with enterprise grade capabilities. Okay, so here you can have the flexibility of the deployment slots for staging and production and then any other stages that you would like to have, and you can get the testing done in production environment with some web test injections, so that you be in a proactive mode to get to know if anything is going wrong even before someone is coming to you and then saying that something is wrong. And app monitoring and diagnostics also going to help you for the same, like application insights and then the operational management suite, log analytics. Many things are there that helps you to have the app monitoring and then the diagnostics of the diagnostics to monitor the complete health status of your application. There is a tight integration with the built-in CI/CD mechanisms that you can adopt to have the continuous integration and then continuous deployment processes. And this is obviously, as it's a fully managed platform, many things comes out of box just like that. You can make use of it for auto scaling or load balancing, or to you need not worry about the high availability and then the auto patching, and operation costs are obviously going to get reduced because someone else is taking care of it, and the backup and recovery things are also taken care. Your teams can concentrate on core productive activity than on these kind of administering activities and support and troubleshooting activities. So you would end up, once you use Azure App Service for a global reach with hybrid support, and then you have the identification and authentication mechanisms that you can opt for using Azure Active Directory, integrate it, and then security and compliance certifications. Obviously, the global specific or regional specific or industry specific compliance certifications are all available with Azure. So moving further, right, so now we got to know that what are all the challenges the SMB market would have for their web applications to make it robust, secure, reliable, and then be productive and be engaging customers in a dynamic fashion. So we thought that Azure Web App Service would be the best option for them. After going to that, now, okay, so once we have understood that, what's the method? How do we do that? How does it work? So it requires three steps. Assess your existing web apps, and then migrate it, then optimize the cost, and then optimize it to use many other pre-built services to take the advantage, right? So in this, first step is going to be assess. So determine first if your website is a good candidate for Azure App Service or not. How do we do that? Simply by scanning its public URL, and that too, it's for free, just within few minutes. That means you go to the migration assessment tool, that is a web tool. It's a free of cost, publicly available. Just enter the URL of your site, the public URL of your site, and then say assess. Click on assess. Within few minutes, it's going to assess the entire architecture and the dependencies, the kind of applications that you have, the tools and the frameworks that you are using, all that in a unique manner. It's going to give you the precise report that you can go through and understand whether your current website hosted is a good candidate for Azure App Service or not. So this is the first step that you're going to do. So this is what I was referring to. In the screen, it's there. You can see the screenshot of the publicly available website, which helps you to assess your current website. Simply provide the URL, click on assess, and then it would start. Done? Right. Next, post assessment. What is that? Migrate. So for the options that we have in front of us to migrate, let me put this in three buckets, three different buckets. One is that whichever are your .NET and PHP applications in a Windows environment, you can plan for a migration assistant tool which would help you to get the lift and shift work done in an automated fashion. That is first option for you. That means you are using the migration assistant tool to get the lift and shift happen for your .NET and PHP applications. Done. This is the first option. Next one. Bring your code. That means you have your code being managed somewhere, and maybe it would be GitHub or Git Enterprise, Bitbucket, SVN, Azure DevOps, or something else. No problem. Bring your code and try to redeploy it using Azure App Service. That means you are going to deploy to Azure App Service to host your application. That's another method, right? The third one, in case if you are using the containerization techniques to optimize the infra costs and dev and test costs and the environment costs and environment provisioning times, all this, no problem. You bring you, that means you containerize your application and deploy it to the Azure App Service, right? So that means either you can bring your containers, either you can bring your code, or use the free of cost migration assistant tool, which would help you to lift and shift your application, web application to the Azure App Service. So these are the three prime methods for you to migrate. We'll see one by one. Sorry. So Azure App Service Migration Assistant, as I told you, you would be post the assessment, you are going to install, download and install that particular appliance, which is going to help you to check no, each and every aspect of it in terms of ports, bindings, and then protocols, and then the certificates, and then the app settings, and any other connection strings with the data, all the things it would try to check and then assess and guide you with a step-by-step instruction whether this is fine or not. If not fine, what's the alternate? That way it's going to do. So this is, as I'm going to reiterate, this is for your ASP.NET and PHP web applications. Few more types are going to get added in the migration tool. For now, these are the two available for your uh, automated migration process using the migration assistant tool. Next, uh, bringing your code. As I was telling you, whether you are using .NET Core or .NET Core or PHP, JavaScript, CPython, Java, Ruby, any of the languages are supported, no need to be worried. Or in case if you are using any of the IDEs, whether it's Eclipse or IntelliJ or Visual Studio, VS Code or something else, no problem. You can you can continue to use all those IDEs. And then whether you have any pre-built content management system images, whether it's WordPress or Drupal or anything else, no problem. That also can be targeted to get deployed onto Azure App Service. Coming to any of the CI/CD tools that you are using, including GitHub or Azure DevOps or Bitbucket, or using these as source code repositories, and then using Azure DevOps for your CI/CD or Kudu, or the Jenkins, Maven, no problem. All of them are supported, and even it helps you for monitoring your applications and be proactive in taking any of the necessary actions to make your application always up and running and robust in terms of its health and functionalities. You are equipped with all what it takes. That means you are going to completely close the loop from dev to ops and back from ops to dev. So that's kind of environment you would be able to realize once you bring it to Azure App Service. Now, it's a simple architecture. As a sample, I'm trying to show you in the workflow how it comes. Okay, so here developer is trying to use either Visual Studio or any of the tools, like as I mentioned in earlier slide, and have some mechanism for their CI/CD in place. It's okay. With that, they are going to bind the Azure App Service, and the Azure App Service here, the web app where it's available for end users. End users might be trying to get connected either through a browser from their desktops or laptops, or maybe using any of the handheld devices or any smart devices to get connected and then avail the services. And here you can integrate these app service for identification and authentication using any of the third-party applications or Azure Active Directory, or have the mailout services integrated. You can take the advantage of pre-built applications and connectors. A whole lot of world is there around available for the integration. You can get that done. And here, optionally, I have shown one of the brand and campaign management template also, in case if in from social media and other social sites, networking sites, if you are trying to bring some intelligence to be put as part of your application, you can do that also. And then have the serverless, that is Azure functions, using event-driven functions. You can have the serverless mechanism to have your database built on live mode. So you take the advantage of it. So this is a sample architecture I thought of showing you. Getting on to the container mode. As I was telling you that in case you have a container mechanism practices adopted already, no problem. We have a tight integration with the Docker Hub, or if you would like to have the Azure Container Registry, that's also fine. So built-in CI/CD with the deployment slots available in the app service, you try to make use of it and then bring your container mechanism also to be adapted with the Azure App Service. And containers for Windows and Linux containers, both are supported. So this is the sample workflow and the architecture diagram that I thought of showing you for your containerized apps while trying to bringing it to Azure App Service. You can see that on the extreme right hand side. For me, maybe for you it would be left side for the audience sitting in front of me. Azure App Service is there, which is connected to the Azure Container Registry, or in case if you would like to bring it from Docker Hub, it's okay. And end users are trying to access it and then enjoying it. On the other hand, if you see at the back end, developers are trying to push these container images to the registry using their local Git repository, using their VS Code or any other IDEs that they are managing it to or working with, and then pushing it to the Azure Container Registry. So one side the end users, the other side is the developers, and in between you have the Azure App Service. All this while we talked about the application layer. So that means app tier. We talked about the app tier. How do you migrate it to Azure App Service? Obviously, every app would have some database connected to it. And in case if you have missed my previous videos when I talked about the SQL MI and any other OSSDB bringing it to Azure using the platform as a service, you can go through them to have a better understanding. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to get you here is that either your SQL to Azure SQL database or MySQL to the community MySQL here fully managed and tailored for web applications in Azure, or fully managed community PostgreSQL edition that you would like to use in Azure. All of them are available. You can have a migration done for your DB tier also. So that's what I'm saying. So you can have the app tier in a under pass mode, and then the DB tier under pass mode, and then continue reducing your costs and making you empowered to be fast and reliable and robust and secure enough to engage your customers by concentrating on core productive activities. So now uh, let's have a look on few of the features which are going to help you, as an extension for your app service. That means before you come to app service and once you come to app service, so what are all the things that are available in the pipeline for you? Okay, so one is that Azure Monitor is there. So collect, visualize and analyze your application performance, enabling you to take corrective action. So this is the one which is enabling you to take proactive and corrective action, right? Azure Monitor helps you to um, monitor the health status and performance. Azure DevOps and GitHub. So whichever you are using, no problem, you can continue to use and then have that adopted for your better planning and work item and bug tracking, and then source code repository, the CI/CD automation, all of them is going to be available in those. So you continue to use and then get that integrated with Azure App Service. So that means it's a streamlined deployment with a highly collaborative environment. Done. Next, how do you infuse intelligence into your apps? Yes, Azure Cognitive Services. Whether you would like to no, imbibe few of the features for speech or hear or text or anything else onto cognitive services, yes, that can be easily integrated into your apps because there is a whole world sitting there in Azure with the pre-built services. Just it's an API call. That means with a single API call, you would be able to integrate those functionalities into your web application. It's going to be very easier for you once you are there already on Azure with Azure App Service. Next, and like Azure bot services, yes, this is also part of your one of the cognitive services only. So conversational bots and then any other type of bots that you would like to have that to be part of your web application. Once you have deployed it, you can make that available for you for a natural way of interacting with your customers and guiding them for the usage and behavioral pattern. Many are things that how depends on your line of business and the website offerings that it is doing, right? And the Azure functions, as I was telling you some time back, if you would like to have the uh, productive backend in minutes without worrying about the infra, event driven functions helps you to have accomplish the serverless mechanism. So that means you are not going to be worried about or not going to keep any dedicated resources on the fly. Anything is required, that's going to be given for you in Azure with event driven functions, that is Azure functions. Logic apps, so many are there like this, one by one. If you go on, too many are there. All of them can be easily made available with your applications in an integrated fashion with all the pre-built connectors and then service hooks and then webhook URLs you can make it integrated with. It's very simple, just make an API call and then get the service made available into your web app. So coming to Azure App Service, how do I buy this? So in a nutshell, to say, I have bucketed into three categories: shared, dedicated, and isolated. So that means there are free, basic, standard, premium, many tiers are there. So I just put it into three. So what is that you have to be worried about or concerned about? Not worried, concerned about. So you'll have to think, okay, so if you are trying to make it for production purposes, go for the dedicated tiers. So dedicated instance for production workloads with increased capabilities. That is one. In case if you are thinking that you require an isolated instance with a dedicated environment, yes, then you go for the isolated one. So that's also a dedicated instance. However, you would have one more layer, that is virtual network is available for you to configure more security aspects into it. Okay, so the security and isolation with high performance with a virtual network separately given for you for a dedicated instance in an isolated fashion comes with this tier. So that is also available. In case if you are thinking, okay, why should I be ending up in paying no cost for these dedicated or isolated tiers when I require it only for a dev and test purpose, because I have many other stages before reaching production. Then for all that, should I be paying this much? No need. You can go for a shared one. So that's a free tier is also available. You can make use of it for your dev and test purposes before reaching the production stage or before reaching the production or staging. If you have something for your dev and test many across the stages, make use of that. So all these are the options for you to make yourself comfortable, convenient, and pocket-friendly options while opting for Azure App Service. Okay. So now coming to in case if you have not tested Azure, I strongly recommend you to create a free account which would give you $200 credit to start with and 12 months of free services, and there could be many other services which are there available for um, post 12 months also. So this $200 credit would be available for you for 30 days for your no, hands-on get through and then get acquainted with the Azure environment. As I was telling you that there is a free assessment website available for you, which is publicly available. You simply put the URL, click on assess. Within few minutes, you would get the unique and precise report available for your website to give you the information whether it's a right candidate for Azure App Service migration or not. And if not, what are all the things or alternations to be guided? Migration Assistant would help you. Okay. And additional resources for you to go on for your learning purpose. There are many on-demand webinars available which have been conducted in the past, and there are many upcoming webinars also on this, and a lot of tutorial material are available for you to learn, and documentation is also available. You just go and search for Azure Learning Path. You would be able to get all ready for you. Okay, so thanks for all spending your time here, and then do not forget to click on subscribe so that anytime I'm coming up with the newer videos, you would be intimated about. Okay, so hope all of you are enjoying my videos, and these knowledge bites are helping you to have some insights on the Azure featured solutions, services, and products. Thanks for all your time and patience. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye bye.